Hello. Hi everyone. I'm Saurabh, and I have Ujjwal along with me. We will be the speakers for today's event. This is going to be a brief introduction to GSOC, how a person can approach GSOC, and in a way, we are going to tell you everything that one needs to know before getting started, so that you all can participate this year or maybe next year or whenever you want to give it a try. There have been some changes in GSOC this year. We will also be going through that, and we will also be showing our proposals, the proposals which we used for GSOC, and obviously take some inspiration from that or write a proposal by your own. Along with that, we will give some tips that a person should know and should follow in order to have a nice journey for GSOC. I will be sharing my screen now. Till then, Ujjwal can give an introduction about him.
Hello, am I audible? Am I audible, sort of?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hello, guys. This is Ujjwal Agarwal from DSCTIT. I'm the co-lead of DSCTIT and I cleared GSOC 2021 under my org SPDX. So today I and Saurav will give you a brief intro about what is GSOC, how to approach GSOC. Then we'll be sharing some tips and tricks that we followed while we were during our application phases. Some important guidelines about how to choose your orgs when if you want to really clear GSOC, and then we'll have a walkthrough through our proposals which we submitted this year in our respective organizations, and we'll also share the link so that you can have them as a reference as well. So I would like to welcome you all.
Is there any problem with the audio or the video? I can see that a lot in the chat. Okay. So there might be some problem on your end. So have a look at that. Okay. Um, I'm sharing my screen now. Actually, I have two screens here so that I can read your chat along.
Saurav, are you there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So there we go. Can you guys see my screen? Ujjwal, can you tell me everyone that?
Yeah, your screen is visible.
All right. So beginning with, so these are some intro slides that we put up. No use at all. So what is GSOC? So GSOC, the full form obviously is Google Summer of Code, and it is an open source program wherein new contributors come in and they try to contribute to some open source project. This was begun by Google so that more and more people could contribute to open source. Open source has a lot of importance in today's world because a lot of free software is being developed through this ideology, and even big companies like Google or Microsoft, they also have their own open source projects and people contribute to them. And thus these software are used by millions of people, and then these software are also free since they're developed openly and by contributors who do not take any money. So that is the whole idea behind GSOC. So just a program wherein you uh, have a project, you go there and you start contributing to the project. If you get selected, if your project gets selected, then you are selected in an organization, and you do all the coding, and once the coding is done you are evaluated by the mentors, and after the evaluation you get some stipend, whatever stipend there is to be given. So that is majorly about GSOC. So the brief about GSOC, about what GSOC is. uh, Going to the next slide right here. Actually I have a timeline here, so we can start with.
I guess there is some network issue from your side. I will be joining soon. Hello, Saurav.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. There was this network issue from my side. Actually, I logged into the same site from two places, so that was the real problem and not my internet. So yeah, so about what open source is, there are actually two, three types of software available. One is closed source, then there is open source, and then there is the hybrid type. Okay, so what happens in open source is whatever code you write is open. Anyone can see the code. Um, they can contribute to the code. They can find issues in the code, though there is a license that needs to be followed. But yeah, that is there. So people can contribute to the open source code. So that will be open source, and closed source is like the source of the code is closed. Something like Google's code, that is closed source code, because you cannot see that code, right? If you want, you cannot go and contribute in their code. It has to be done by the team of Google, or someone, someone who works at Google. So that is the main difference between open source and closed source. So if you guys know about Linux, so Linux is something like the open source software, and then there are a lot of other technologies that are built on open source software. I guess that answers your question, Nishan. All right. So in GSOC, all those projects, like open source projects, come in. They tell Google that, I have this project and I want people to contribute to it. So can you help me get new people, student contributors, or people to contribute to my project? If Google finds that the project is nice, if the proposal of the organization is nice, then if the okay, so if the project is nice, then Google allows that project to take part in GSOC, and then the project is available. After that, people come in and apply to the organization. So people apply to the organization, and then people get selected. If they get selected, then they contribute and they get their stipend. So that is the whole thing, how it operates. If that is cool, then we can start with the timeline. Guys, all right. So I think that is all right. We can move to the timeline. For the timeline, so yeah, this is the timeline from 2021. The timeline for 2022 will be different. It is not out yet, so we don't know how it will proceed. Okay, so we are just taking the sample from 2021. So this is what happens. First, organizations apply, because if you want to contribute to some organization, the organization should first be available, right? So organizations apply by January 29, 2021. This is what happened last year, and we are expecting a similar timeline this year. So organizations apply that would like to participate, and then there is also this deadline. So like organizations start applying on this date, and the deadline is on February 19. So this is where the mentors come into play. For example, there is some company, XYZ company, and they decide that they want to participate in GSOC. So what they will do is that they will write out a proposal and send it to Google. Okay. So this is that timeline when they write the proposal and send it to Google. Okay. By February 19th, they submit their application. And after that, what happens is um Google selects these organizations, and they are released on the official website of Summer of Code with Google.com. That is the official GSOC website. And once the organizations are announced on March 9, 2021, after that, you can start having a look at these organizations. Okay, so a lot of organizations will be listed. Uh, what you will do is you will go through the organizations. For example, there is Mozilla, or there is OpenWest, or there is PostgreSQL. You will look at the project. Oh, so PostgreSQL, uses Django and Python. I know Django and Python, so I can probably try contributing to it this year. So you will have to browse through a lot of organizations that match your skill level. Uh, so once you start doing that, you will find some organizations that actually match your skill set. And once you know that, then you will finalize some 2 3 organizations. What we suggest is you have at least 2 organizations, one main organization and one backup organization to which you will apply. So if the term organization is a bit confusing, then thus consider it to be some XYZ company like Mozilla or PostgreSQL. Okay. So now you know the organization and you have finalized that I want to contribute to these 2 organizations because they match my skill set and I also like the project. I think it is cool and I can work on it and finish it during the summer. So once you have decided that, so the next part of the timeline comes into the picture, the student application period. Okay, so it starts from March 29 and goes on till April 13. So what happens during this phase is, you have to start writing a proposal. For example, Ujjwal decided that he wants to contribute to CNCF this summer. So what he will do is he will during once he has decided he'll start contributing and stuff. But apart from that, he'll write a proposal for his project. I want to participate in CNCF and they have this project. I think I can do it. So you have to write a proposal about how you will go about completing that project, the details of the project, and what all you will be doing. And you will also have to give a timeline on all that. You will talk about the proposal later, but just that you have to write a proposal and submit it by April 13. That's it. All right. So March 29 to April 13, some people submit it early, some people submit it late, but it is a general suggestion that, you submit it before, like by April 11 or 12. Do not keep it to the last because you might just miss it or there might be some internet connection problem or the site might go down. Anything can happen. Okay. So that is where the student application takes place. Once you have applied to once you have sent the proposal and your application is complete, you can rest, or it is better that you contribute to the project during that time. If you start contributing to the project, then people will actually know, the mentors will know that this guy has submitted a proposal and he has also been contributing. So maybe I can take him in and maybe he is good at it. So I should select him. So it is advised that keep contributing to this during this period, that is April 13 to May 17. All right. So this was the application review period. And after the application review completes, then the student projects are announced for May 17. Okay. So you submitted your proposal and now the mentors went through the proposal and they decided, they get a lot of proposals. Okay. And from that, they decide that, okay, these 4 proposals are really nice and I think we can go about it. So on May 17, you will either get a mail of acceptance or rejection. So that is a very overwhelming period. You might get a acceptance mail or a rejection mail. But yeah, if things are right and you get selected, then what happens is this project will start in some days. From this point, I think Ujjwal can take over.
Yeah, sure. So the Herculean task is basically to get selected into GSOC, which you do by this period of time when the community interaction starts. So once the GSOC results are out, then the community bonding period starts. So what is basically the community bonding period, right? So you are selected into an organization. You will be working with a mentor for 2 to 3 months to complete a project which you worked hard while, which you researched upon and worked hard while making the proposal, right? But there are some semantics which the organization follows. There are some cultures which the organization adheres to. So during the community bonding sessions, we have meetings with the organization, community meetings with the organization and the mentors as well. And they basically tell us, we discuss our proposals, any changes which the mentor believes are necessary while you go about the project. We have sessions with other people of the organizations and get to understand their culture, the Git workflows they prefer to use while making the project, or For example, some organization follow the rebase Git workflow, while some organization follow the merge Git workflow, which you would be knowing previously because you would have studied about the organization while you are writing the proposal. But yet the community bonding phase is very important, and most of people start coding their project during the community bonding phase. But even if you don't, that's not the issue, because community bonding phase is basically to get to know more about the organization that you will be working for, and to discuss with the mentor the project as much as you can before you start coding it, right? uh, sort of next. Then the project programming period, which is from June 7 to August 16th. Uh, in our year, that was the 2021, we had one evaluation in between because it was a 2 months project. Previous to that, it was a 3 month project, so they had two evaluations in between and one final evaluation. But because during our year the project timeline was shortened to 2 months, we had just one evaluation in between, and then a final evaluation after August 16th. Sort of next. So this is the final. This is the evaluation, project evaluation timeline. So July 12th to July 16th. So this is the first evaluation that takes place. So project starts on June 7th. Then on July 12th, the first evaluation week starts. You just have to fill out a simple form of the evaluation. But evaluation is really what code you completed by the end of 1 month, and the mentor evaluates your code and he submits the final evaluation. On your end, you just have to fill out a simple form which takes hardly 5 minutes. But people do fail the first and second evaluations depending upon the code they did. I remember in our year, I got to know about 8 failures that happened. There may be more, not particular about the number, but yes, you need to complete the promised deliverables by the end of the first evaluation and by the end of the second evaluation, so that the mentor passes you in these evaluation. Even if you don't complete the deliverables, and if a hurdle appears in between while coding in any coding phase, you should tell the mentor about it, and the mentor should be aware that why you didn't complete the deliverable, so that he passes you. Next. Then this is the final evaluation, in which you have to do a little task than just filling out a simple form. You do have to fill out a simple form, but you also have to prepare a work product submission of your entire code. So what is a work product submission? Work product submission is basically what you did during the entire GSOC coding timeline. What are the deliverables that you promised, and what are the deliverables you achieved? It also contains a few statistics about how many commits you merged, how many pull requests you raised, how many issues you detected in the existing code, or some statistics like that. And you prepare a final work product describing what was the project, what did you achieve, how much time did you achieve in, any extra promises that you made, and as the project you were able to finish the project before the predicted timeline. Did you do anything extra, or did you do anything additional to that was promised in the proposal? And you compile all of this in a Google Doc or a GitHub repository, a README file, and then you submit that along with the Google form. This is the work product submission, and then the mentor evaluates it, Google evaluates it, and then the final result is announced. Next. So evaluation takes place between 23rd August to 30th August. You don't have to basically do anything in this period. You are done with GSOC, and then the results are announced by 31st, and you get the final part of your stipend. Next. So a lot of changes have been made in GSOC 22, and these are really significant changes. So the program of Google Summer of Code is open for 18 years and older. It has served around 18,000 university students around the globe. And so now what GSOC has decided this year, that it will not be open to only university students, it will be open to all people above 18 years of age. So yes, competitions for university students is much more tougher this year because people who are in the industry will also participate in GSOC this year, and never and as it is understood, they have much more coding experience than what university students have. But nevertheless, how you work about the entire proposal submission phase and before the before you submit the proposal, that's what matters. And yes, then second change is support of medium projects and large size projects have been introduced. So what GSOC has done is this year, because 3 months timeline was a sufficient timeline to complete a project, which GSOC adhered to till 2020. Then in the 2021 GSOC, the timeline was shortened to 2 months. As a result, some major orgs backed out, like Mozilla didn't participate this year, right? So Mozilla was a really big org that participated in GSOC every year, and it came about 10 to 12 projects every year, right? But a lot of big orgs like Mozilla backed out, and the reason was quite clear, because 2 months are not sufficient to build out any project or to build any big project which these orgs introduced in GSOC, right? So GSOC and a lot of people last year in the feedback forms had also submitted that the project should go back to the timeline of 3 months. So what GSOC has done this year is it has added the support of medium projects and large size projects to overcome the shortcomings of the previous format. And if in the midway while completing the project, the mentor and the student feels that he really needs more time, then the project timeline will be increased from 12 weeks to 22 weeks. That is 350 hours, and which is really huge to build out any projects. And thus, it is expected that this year, really good projects and big projects would be introduced in GSOC. Cool. Next, I would like Saurabh to take on from here.
Yeah, all right. I'm pausing the presentation for some time. I think the kids might have some doubts. Uh, if you have some doubts, then you can shoot in either the Q&A or the general chat. A lot of things might not be clear right now. So if you're from first or second year, some of the things might be very new to you. So that is not to worry. It was new for us too when we started, and it was a very different program and very different to whatever we have done in the past. But it is worth it. Can we contribute before getting selected? Yeah, that is what you must do. Like people should ideally start contributing from January to any matlab, you will know whatever organizations participated last year. Like you have a list of organizations that participated this year. Okay, so you should choose one organization from that, and you should start contributing to that project. This gives you some open source experience, as well as if that organization decides to participate, then you will have an upper hand. So you should start contributing as soon as possible. How many proposals can an individual make? An individual can submit 3 proposals 1 year, but 3 proposals is very tough. So we'd say two. Two is a must. How to? Okay, a lot of questions. A lot of questions. How can a
Uh,
first year contribute?
Saurabh, let us complete the last slide. I guess a lot of questions will be answered in that, and then we can
Yeah,
move on to the Q&A.
yeah. All right. Just a second. I'll share my screen again.
Now we'll be
Oh,
sharing some tips on how to approach GSOC, and then we'll open it to questions. You can ask your questions then. Cool.
okay.
Yes.
So for the approach, here we have some tips that you should ideally do. Uh, First of all, contribute as soon as possible. Contributing is nice. Mentors know that you exist, and then they'll be able to give you. Then they'll be able to select you easily. Okay, so the first thing that you can do to contribute to any open source project, be it at DSC or be it at any other organization. So, like at DSC2, we have some open source projects. They are open for contributions. If you guys want, you can start contributing. There is a Discord server for that. You can go there and ping in the Discord channel. We will help you out if required. But yeah, So the first thing that you can do is go to any organization, go to a project. You will have a list of good first issues. Okay, so there are some issues that are specifically labeled as being good first issues, so that first time contributors can contribute easily. Okay, so look at the issues, and then you'll find that there are some issues that you might be able to solve because you have either worked with them, or you think that you have the logic and you can go about it, so you can do that. Okay. Apart from that, the other things that you should do is you should go to the README. For every project, there is one README. Okay, so it basically specifies the things that everything about the project, how to set up the project, what the project is, and the major the stack of the project and everything else. So you should first read the README, and then you should read the contributing.md. In the contributing.md, they specify about how a person should contribute, how a person should ideally contribute. So you should read that too. Okay. There was a question about what a proposal is. We will get that to that later. Okay. And now the second point being choose a main organization and a backup organization. This is something that I and Ujjwal said before this too. While choosing organization, make sure that you have two organizations in mind, a main and a backup. For example, when I was appearing for GSOC, I had OpenFisp as my main organization and PostgreSQL as my backup organization, and I did not get into the main organization. So the backup organization helped then. So it is really important that you have one. Okay. Now the third point being mention all. Okay. Yeah. So proposal for the proposal. A proposal is basically a document, in which you submit the details of the project that you will be working on, and also about why they should select you and not anyone else. Okay, so for me, like I would mention that I have contributed to projects before also, and I have, this experience, and I've contributed to your project too. So you have to mention all your open source contributions in the proposal so that they have a nice idea about you. Okay, and then previous year experiences and internships do matter. Though if you don't have any experience or internship, that is also fine. It is only that you should know how to contribute, and you should have a nice proposal. If that is there, then you will get selected. Okay. The next point being join your org IRC channels and be active there. This should be B. So yeah. So like when you select an organization on the summer code of Google website too, there are the organizations, and then they have mentioned the communication channels. So like some organizations use Gitter, some use Discord, some use Slack, and some use IRC. Okay, so make sure that you join such medium, and you can start conversating there. Even if you join the communication medium, like if you join uh, organization's Discord, okay, there you will be able to see about the work that they are doing. Okay, so there you can see the work that they are doing. Try that when you join a communication medium, you stay there for some time. Do not message abruptly, and do not message anything that might enrage anyone. Okay, so just be there, have a look at some time, observe the movement that is going on in the communication channel for some time. This is what I personally did, so you can also try doing that. And once you're comfortable with the way they talk and the things that they do, you can leave a short message. Hi, I'm this, and I study here, and whatever your details are, and I would like to participate in GSOC this year. Could anyone help me with it? If you have any questions, then you can ask your questions there. It is nice that you keep a list of questions that you ask on your first message. People would rather respond to a question than respond to an introduction. Okay, so have a list of questions and ask those questions. People will be there, they will help you. So yeah, do that. After that, stay in contact with the project mentor before and after submitting the proposal. It is very important. GSOC is not just about being able to code everything, being very good at tech, but you don't know how to communicate. If you don't know how to talk to a person, then you won't be able to go through with it. GSOC is a thing where you need the soft skills too. You need to know how to communicate your thoughts and whatever you think is right. Okay, so you can work on these skills too before starting. Try talking on Discord or random Slack channels where people are working. If you start doing that from now, you will have some practice and you will not be scared then. Else you will be very scared while sending that first message. You will get it verified by 10 people, and then it will take time. So it is nice that you have good communication skills. Ujjwal, can you take over now?
Yeah. So 50% task is done before submitting the proposal. I can say almost 60 to 65% task is done before submitting the proposal. The reason behind is that if you start contributing as early as you can, you get known within the org that you want to really participate in these orgs. So a question is how to choose an organization, right? So if you go through the organization list of previous years, a lot of orgs have been repeatedly participating in GSOC. So yes, the official list is released in March, but some orgs are really finalized that yes, they will come every year. Like CNCF comes every year, Score Labs comes every year, Mozilla came every year, then it didn't come last year. So this was a really shocking incident for a lot of people. Then there are orgs which come in, Postgres comes every year. So these are orgs which really come everywhere. So you can go ahead and start contributing in these orgs, right? And it is not that if you start contributing in that org and it didn't appear for GSOC as an organization, you will be at a loss. No, open source contributions to any organization matter, and if you write those contributions within your proposal, you will definitely have an upper hand. And keeping that if your org doesn't come as an organization, that's why you should have a backup org, because if your main org doesn't come, then at least you have a second option that you have been contributing to, right? So start contributing in early Jan, and if you can start now. Now is the best time, right? The more earlier you start contributing, the more number of contributions you will have by the end of April, and thus the more chances of getting selected. You can even tap the mentors which participate in GSOC every year, right? So those roles by those mentors because they have a greater chance of mentoring and project this year again. Target issues raised by a mentor in the code. So this is something which I did after submitting the proposal. In my backup org, what I did is my mentor was a maintainer of the repository organization's repository, so he raised a lot of issues, and I started contributing to those specific issues which were raised by my mentor, so that he was responsible to merge any pull request or he was responsible for any communication. What this did was enhance my communication with my mentor, and during the phase when he had to submit the proposals, he definitely recognized my proposals that yes, this person has contributed to my issues, and yes, this is the one to get selected, right? And one very important thing is there is no advantage of reading the code on GitHub. So it's completely futile because you won't be able to understand code bases having 9,000 commits while reading it on GitHub. You won't even understand that a function is being called, whether it is a library function or a function that has been defined in the same file, or a function which has been defined in another package of the same orgs repository, right? So the best way to understand the code base is clone the repository, understand it on a code editor. I use VS Code, and I suggest to use VS Code because it has support. It has a lot of great extensions and a lot of support for every language that you can possibly think of. But no, and a lot of people back out after reading the code on GitHub. This is something I've seen because the code base seems really huge in GitHub, and you are not able to read it or go through the execution of how will a code get executed. So really my suggestion is don't back out after just reading the code on GitHub. If you choose an org and choose a project and you feel that repository suits you, you know the language, so just clone it, and maybe a library is being used that you don't know. Study the documentation, spend time. You will at least take 5 to 10 days to get familiar with the code base. Don't back out in just one day. This is very important because a lot of people back out after just reading the code base of the repository on one day, right? And they feel that they are not capable enough to clear GSOC or contribute to that org. That is not true. So these were the things that we wanted to talk about. Then we have a proposal walkthrough, because what is a proposal and how to approach it, how we approached it. So let's start with sort of explaining this proposal.
Do you think that we need to take any questions right now, or we can do it later? Ujjwal. Uh, Ujjwal, you are on mute. You are on mute.
Let's have a proposal walkthrough. I guess a lot of questions will be answered then, and then if these people have any other doubts regarding the proposal as well, then we can answer.
Yeah, so if you can see my screen, this was my proposal, the proposal that I sent. Um, you can we will share the link. We will probably share all the resources, the PPT as well as the proposals on Discord. So don't worry about that. Just have a look again. So this is my proposal. I have obviously, removed my phone number, else people will start calling me. So here we have the personal information first. This does not matter much. This is just a very basic information. For example, this was the proposal that I used for Postgres. So they use Slack. Okay, so they use Slack as the communication medium. So I have put in my Slack ID here, and this is all basic stuff. After that, I've put in my working hours about the time that I will be able to work. Since the mentors can be from other countries, so it is use UTC and specify that. Yeah. So that then I have a basic info about me, about and I also have attached my resume, though I think this is old, but yeah. And then there is some volunteer experience and freelance experience. So this is where you boast about yourself. I am this, and I have this experience, and I've also mentioned my open source experience because this matters the most. So I've written that. Once you're done boasting about yourself, then you actually write about the project. Okay. So this was the motivation that I had for PostgreSQL. Uh, so I wrote that up, and then I wrote about the project. About this is what the project definition was given to me. So researched upon it. I searched about what has to be done, and then I have given them a plan about how I will complete this project. Okay, so basically, what I had to do is was they have a system. I had to just improve it. They have a conference management system, and I had to improve it. So I wrote a proposal about how I will complete it. So uh, something that you can also do is divide the project into phases. Like I had three major tasks, so I divided them, and then I divided them into phases too. Okay, so that I can take a big problem and chop it off into smaller pieces and start by solving the first piece first. So this is what you should do even when you're applying for GSOC. You have to take the whole problem, or applying to GSOC. This is the problem that you want to solve. So the first thing that you will have to do is search for an org. So, just divide the problem and then start attacking it one by one. So these were the measurable outcomes. This is important. You have to write this in a proposal because the organization wants to know about what you will deliver at the end. If you do not finish these things, then you might not be evaluated well and you might just fail the evaluation. Right. So yeah, I wrote all the things that I will be doing for support for HTML emails. I will be doing this. I gave them a brief and everything, whatever need to be written. We do not need to go into the details right now, but yeah, everything. I also used Figma to draw, diagrams. It is nice if you show diagrams. It shows that it shows them that you know what you're doing, and you are also very dedicated to it. I made a diagram. I showed them that I want to do this, and I've been working on it. All right. And then I also, yeah, so this is all about the project. And then I gave them a proposed timeline that during this period, I will do all of this. And during this period, for week one and week two, I will be doing this and doing this, whatever you're going to do. It is nice to have a buffer period. For example, if you're not able to do something in 1 week, then you can, leave it at the last. So I kept a buffer period at the end so that if I miss anything, there might be some urgency that comes into your life, like you might fall sick or you have to go somewhere that is really very important, then you might not be able to complete the work. So I had this buffer period for that. So I mentioned that too. I don't think I'm missing anything. But yeah, I did tell you that you have to boast about yourself in the experience section and open source contributions, I forgot to mention one thing, that you also have to write about the open source contributions that you made to this particular project. Like PostgreSQL, if I was applying to PostgreSQL, I will have to write about the contributions that I made to this project. Okay, though I did not make any contributions to PostgreSQL then, because the situation was different. But yeah, you are supposed to write that. And then after the timeline, I've written about what else I would be doing. I told them that I would be writing a two-part blog of the project. I did write that down. You can find it on my personal blog. So yeah, that is there. And then I've mentioned my availability. Like I will be able to work 40 to 50 hours. This is quite a lot. I did not work this much. This should be a secret, but yeah, this is quite a lot. They actually do not want you to work these many hours. For example, if it is 170 hours or 175 hours project, then you have to divide it into 12. So 175 divided by 12, that is the number of hours that you need to work every week. Okay. So yeah, I also mentioned that, I wrote about my college and that I will be able to give less time then and during my exams. So I mentioned all of that. And if you have any plans that, you will be out for a vacation during the project, then you should ideally mention that too. Okay. So yeah, and then, yeah, they just don't want a contributor who works during the GSOC, and after that he leaves the project and moves on. They want someone who, will work with them for a long time, who will keep contributing. So I also mentioned after GSOC what I will be doing. So this is something that I had planned to do, and I'm working on it. So yeah, that was about my proposal. I guess now we can move to Ujjwal proposal. We have all these proposals in a repository on Developer Student Club's uh, GitHub. We will send in a link. Ujjwal.
It's SPDX sort of.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
So this was basically my proposal. I mentioned the org, the mentors, and the name of the project. So my project was basically I had to make a JSON parser that will convert JSON files to other file formats using Golang. So this was the project, and we had a SPDX is an organization which basically handles internet licensing like MIT license, Apache license, etc. So I had to research about licensing a bit, and they had a specific format about their JSON specification or tag value specification that they have defined. So I had to search about it and make a parser using Golang as well as a loader using Golang. So introduction, I guess the introductory section is the same. My personal details. Then the project synopsis, which is basically why this project is basically being conducted, what were the shortcomings of the previous version of the repository, and how will I fix it, right? Then is the project description, which Saurav has basically already explained that you need to divide the project into various subsections. Saurav, can you scroll down a bit? Yeah, so you need to break down the projects into various subsections. Like coming to my project, struct tags is a very basic solution in Golang to convert JSON to other formats. But in this project, using struct tags was not the solution and was not feasible to use. So this was the major shortcoming of the project, and which I had to mention at the top. So I broke down the projects into various subsections, and then I mentioned them there. So scroll down a bit. So I had written a few codes to explain the logic which I was telling, and I had using Golang Playground. It is a very common tool for Golang developers. So what it is basically that it offers you an online interface to run your code. So I had made a few code snippets to explain what I really wanted to say through simpler examples like using basic structs, and then pasted those links and screenshots so that basically the mentor can go to those links and understand what I mean to say via code. This is the same project description. Again, I had inserted a few. Then using efficient coding practices was one thing which I mentioned. Uh, so using efficient version control practices, the third point is very important, which comes to when it comes to any project. I have mentioned a blog there. You can refer to this blog, which it basically contains guidelines how to commit your how to write meaningful commit messages, which orgs are really particular about. So you can go through that as well. Then the future implementations, if what I will do after my project gets completed, if a buffer time is left inside the project timeline, or even after when I remain committed to the org. This is a schedule of deliverables, which is the timeline of what I will be doing in which phase of GSOC. It is the orgs are very particular about this timeline, so do really plan this well. Have a buffer period, as Saurav has already explained. Then this was my availability schedule. I promised 35 to 40 hours a week. Then COVID shut down, and then a buffer period. Then how do I plan to communicate with my mentors? And this is a very important section about your contributions to open source contributions. So I had mentioned my pull request, what was the which was merged, which were open, and what issue did they fix. Then I had mentioned my contributions to other open source community as well. I had contributed to Litmus Chaos, Cashbin, and SPDX to be particular. So I contributed to 3 orgs, and I mentioned all of that. Then this was my academic experience. Uh, you can mention this. It's not particularly. Then my resume, link to my resume. You can bold the sections which you really want him to read, because he had to read. He has to read a lot of proposals, so some text might get skipped. Then I mentioned my open source projects, my personal projects, which I thought would make an impact. Then my internship experience. Then this is an optional section. Why me? Really depends upon you, but it is an informal introduction about yourself and why do you want him to take to be taken up for the project, right? I guess that's it. So these were the proposals. While posting the presentation, you can have the link there. These are some important links. So first is the Google Summer of Code website. Then the second one is the proposal archive on GitHub, which we have prepared. You can go through all the proposals there. Then this is the third link, gsockorganizations.dev. This is a website which can help you choose the org depending upon your language and interest that you fill in as filters. I would really recommend you to explore this website as soon as possible and choose an org. And then this is Saurav's blog. You can go and read his blogs about how to clear GSOC and the work product submission that he submitted. I guess he posted about the first evaluation as well, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's it from our side. Now we are open to questions.
Yeah, so like there are a lot of questions that we have. We can go through them. We will share all of this material on Discord, so you can be there. You can join the Discord server.
So we have started the Q&A sections. You can start posting your questions there, even if you have posted already.
Yeah, it will be better if you post the questions in the Q&A part. It is easier for us to track them.
Yeah.
What skills should we focus on for in first year? That is really for you to explore. A person cannot, recommend you something like that. You can explore. You can start exploring different fields like web development or machine learning. There are so many fields. You can explore different fields which you think you might find interesting. And if you find some field interesting, then you have to start developing skills in that particular field. There are organizations from all fields in GSOC. So even science, they also have projects of science. So yeah,
Like
guide
if
all
you
for
really want to get started with development, GSOC is basically about development mostly. So you can start with any form of development, like web dev, app dev is the simplest thing to start with. And then you can move on exploring ML and all. But GSOC is not about any form of development. It's basically you should know a language like Python or Go or TypeScript or JavaScript, anything, and really explore the orgs which code in that particular language and get started with it. That's it.
Okay, all right. Um, the first question that I can see in the Q&A is how a first year student can start. This question has propped up a lot. So I guess we'll start with that. Actually, I'm stopping the recording now. Uh, so we can kind of have